This episode is kindly sponsored by Kayla and Brian.
Dankeschön. 55 seconds into the show, and we already have a bathroom break. Lumos. Hello friends, welcome back to Shell Cottage Radio. I'm your host Ezra, aka Bill, also known as your friendly tech wizard, the former captain of the Hufflepuff Quidditch team, the Flannel Wizard, yours truly, me. Please welcome your lovely design witch, the fascination of fourth year, my wonderful co-host and yours, Lottie aka Fleur.
Hiya! Schön, dass ihr da seid. Willkommen zurück. Welcome back to our little cottage on the outskirts of Tenworth. Come on in. This is the 10th episode of Shell Cottage Radio, in which we will talk about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. Before we start our chapter discussion, we're going to chat a bit about life at Shell Cottage and quiz Bill with a Potter quote.
Oh boy.
All right. William, Arthur, Percival, Brian, Wulfric, Weasley. How have you been doing this past week?
Is that all of his name? Is that did you just make that up, or is that?
No, actually, Bill's name is William Arthur Weasley.
Okay.
And I just went on.
Yeah, you got to throw on the extra names just to really drive it home. Hey, I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. I hope you guys are out there having a wonderful day, week, time, what have you. It's just feeling good. I'm feeling really good. We're recording this. We're on kind of the eve of a little trip that we're going to be taking. Mm-hmm. So we actually have kind of the first couple episodes will be dropping on like our Friday. And then when we get back from our little vacation, we're going to be dropping episodes, I think, every Wednesday. Right, sweetie?
Right.
We talked about that?
That's the plan. Mm-hmm.
So let's just, give us a couple weeks on that. And then, but we're still going to be getting you guys that weekly, kind of just drop on in terms of the reread. But I am pumped because I'm going to go see my good friend Matt. And it is his birthday coming up. So.
Yay.
Birthdays are fun, It's just going to be, check the social media. We'll probably be we'll have a little drink counter going or something. Who knows? We'll be having a great time out there in Portland. You've never been to Portland, Oregon?
No.
Right? Yeah.
And it's cool. I've never met your friends like in
right,
person.
in person. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you should think we were experienced in that kind of stuff, but
yeah, that's interesting,
no,
right?
It will be cool. I can't wait to really meet them and,
Yeah, I'm excited because I think it's like I always forget that aspect of it, that meeting more of my family, meeting more of my friends, and then like just meeting some of our listeners too. So when I've been at conventions, it's always been so cool to see people. And by the way, always like I love when people come up and they're like, hey, blah, blah, I know you from this or that, or like I follow you or on social media or whatever. It's just great because it's so cool to be able to put like a face to a name and then really kind of have that interaction, which is something we've talked about on the show. And I think Angelina has reached out to us. But by the way, thanks to Kayla and Brian and other folks who have signed up on Patreon and joined over there. It's like
Thank
blown
you so much.
us away. Literally unreal. And I wanted to reach out to both of them, and I think Lottie reached out to Brian, I reached out to Kayla. Like I'm just blown away. It's cool. It's fun because we were kind of talking in those episodes. We get a chance to just like cover Dumbledore's watch and crazy theory stuff over there. And then we had a good discussion about Aunt Petunia, which kind of like hit the heartstrings a little bit, and caused me to want to go read Cursed Child and all that stuff. So.
Me too, actually. I want to do a reread because a lot of stuff I've forgotten, actually.
Yeah. I think I've only started. I think at one point I did start it. I was like, I don't know. I had some, other content came up at the time, and I just didn't get into it. But yeah, I definitely want to do that. So
yeah.
Anyway, we're feeling good. It's always kind of it's a little bit hectic right now because we got a couple of days before we board the airplane. We got to get up at like 3:00 in the morning. Has anybody ever had to get up at just like the butt crack of dawn and get get on a plane? Lottie's very much insistent that like we have to be there 3 hours prior. And you know what? We learned during like the pandemic and all of our travel stuff, that was so true during that time. Oh yeah. And it probably still is, just in terms of like catching flights and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, and the way I think about it is you have to get up early anyway. So what's an hour or half an hour even earlier compared to, okay, we're not going to be, full of, or like stressed out by, oh no, we have to make it. And remember when we were coming back from Orlando? Yeah. And we saw that
never-ending
line
wizard
for
God.
security.
That was I've never seen
That
anything
was
like that.
amazing. I thought we were going to be in line for 3 hours. And
3
we're
days,
like,
more like.
actually,
Yeah.
actually, even if we would have been in line for 2 hours, I think we still would have made it because we were really early.
We were so early. Yeah,
and other people panicked.
They were
because they had no
freaking
idea
out.
how long it will take. It actually took only like 45 minutes or so.
Also,
Only.
interesting to note, if you're ever down in Orlando and you're at that airport and you come in and you're flying back home somewhere, it's when you first walk in, the second line, there are 2
Yeah.
security lines. And if you go to if you walk through the first line that's like in your face, there's a whole nother group of people on the other side that might actually be shorter. We don't know. I mean, I never got to go over there and really look at it, but check around, so.
Yeah.
I love traveling. I love it. There's a little scariness on the plane and stuff. I wish we just had more control over like getting on our Thestral or our broom or whatever. I feel like that would be cooler.
But would you fly on a Thestral if you couldn't,
I would rather fly on a broom that I had control over and that I knew and that it was my device. Again, it's just like, kind of, I don't know, you have an element of control, you feel like, to some degree,
True. Yeah, me too.
So... kind of.
Even though it feels like, wow, I mean, if you've never been on a broom before, you're clinging on to this small little handle, and it's really, really,
Yeah.
I don't know, you really have to balance yourself.
I would put a buckle on there. I would buckle myself on.
I actually like the development of the broom in the movies, where, it used to be in the first couple of movies, it was just the broom, and then they upgraded kind of with like for the feet, to rest on. That was kind of cool.
What about Mad Eye Moody's broom, where he's laid back, like he's sitting backwards?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
that was
cool.
awesome. Yeah, really cool.
Would it be crazy if instead of a broom, I had a sweeper, like an actual like full on sweeper that I just stood on, and I had like reverse rode the sweeper? I don't know.
That's funny.
It'd be kind of cool.
Wait, is a sweeper like a vacuum cleaner?
Vacuum cleaner. Yeah, like an actual vacuum cleaner. It's got a
Hoover.
cord. Yeah, it's a Hoover. Yeah.
That would be funny. Actually, there's a little witch in Germany. Her name is Bibi Blocksberg.
Okay.
And she's like it's a children's story, and she's awesome, by the way. And her family, so her mom is a witch, but her dad is what we would call in the Harry Potter world a muggle. He doesn't have any magical powers.
Yeah. And
I think at some point she meets a friend, so she rides on a broomstick to fly, right? But there is an episode, there's another witch girl who flies on a vacuum cleaner.
Really?
Yeah.
See? Okay, so I'm not like completely crazy.
No, yeah.
Wow. Interesting. That is interesting. Sweetie, how are you? I've rambled on. You doing okay?
Oh, yeah. I just want to keep it short. We had a great day yesterday at Half Price Bookstore because we were dropping off some old books,
Right.
At some point, I know, like, books are awesome. We love them. And we still have so many books sitting here. But sometimes you just got to let go. If you know you're never going to look at them again, they've done, their job. You learned a lot of things, or you read the story already. Nowadays, it's possible to keep, to read a lot of stories, but keep it light, through the digital age. So we dropped up some books, and it was actually, we felt bad because they were swamped yesterday. So many people came in with their books.
We had 4 totes of books,
yeah. So
2
sorry.
totes of DVDs,
so sorry.
And I probably could have given them more, but I just sort of, and you don't get much at all, but it's really just the idea that you're going to make, pennies on the stuff that you're really turning in, which is fine. And then it goes to somebody else who gets it for half price, or they
I think
they're
really getting reused. That's awesome.
Yep, they're getting kind of recycled and stuff. So
and it was it was so much fun. We spent probably like 3 hours at the bookstore. Yeah, but because we weren't allowed to leave while they're counting or going through all our books. But that was so much fun because we found some gems in there.
Yeah, we did, actually. I have one sitting right here. So Jedi versus Sith, the essential guide to the Force. But I never have I seen this. Yeah. I have all the other essential guide stuff. I never had the Jedi versus Sith. Like, I'm a huge, again, I'm into magic and force wielding stuff. So, you know how, sweetie, like on Up Talking Tolkien, Lord of the Rings podcast, you just make all those Harry Potter references.
I know.
I feel like that's going to be me here with Star Wars. And I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I will make a Star Wars reference from time to time. But it's a book I found. Right. And I love it. Yeah. We also found a couple other cool things, gifts and presents and stuff. So It was
Yeah,
good.
it was a lot of fun yesterday. And it feels like, this is summer vacation. Is what it's all about when we left early in the morning and it felt like a road trip. It felt like an adventure. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Before we dive into our quote quiz, I just want to mention real quick, just thank you so much for everyone who wrote in. I was actually amazed by all your messages. Trying to reply to all of them. So there's 2 that are a little bit longer, and we definitely, I read all of them, or we read all of them. And don't worry, I'll reply to like Christine, awesome story. I can't wait to get in touch. That's so cool. And also, would it be helpful if you would let us know if you wanted to be read or not? Because sometimes I'm not sure if you would like to share the story on the podcast.
Yeah. You could just put
or not.
You could just
a
say,
little hint.
Feel free to read on the podcast or whatever, and
Yeah.
don't feel weird about putting that in because
because we don't want to share anything that you think it's personal. It was just for us,
yeah.
just to let you know.
True. Yes.
And also, Angelina, thanks for reaching out. We'll definitely get back to you. So
Yeah.
just hang in there.
It's awesome. I'm pumped. Yeah, again, guys, it's awesome. It's so cool to kind of see people who write in and then have followed and stuff. It's just like, we're so excited. This is a fun, we're only in chapter 2, and we're just really excited to kind of, take off.
We're not even at Hogwarts yet or anything.
No, and
but
actually,
it's already so much fun.
Yeah, it's already, there's some stuff that came up today in my notes that I was just sort of like, wait a second, what? Got to go look this person up now. And it was just,
I know.
It's cool.
Yeah, yesterday I spent all night on researching different stuff, and it's just cool that this is our hobby. This is what we love to do. And we love to have you along the ride.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into something now. What do we got next here, sweetie?
Okay, gonna give you a weekly quote, and
oh boy,
you trying to tell me who said it. Imperfect understanding is often more dangerous than ignorance.
Imperfect understanding is often more dangerous than ignorance. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a smart thing to say. That sounds like someone who we might respect and really,
Yeah.
like. I'm thinking it's a professor, I'm thinking, no.
No, I don't think that person ever taught.
You see how I'm trying to
But he teaches indirectly. He's not a professor at a school, but yeah.
Interesting. Sirius Black?
No.
Darn it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's not in the main books. It's
not in the
expanded Wizarding World.
Oh.
Well, it is in the main. He's mentioned in the main books, but his adventures are.
Does it? I mean, the only one I can think of is like Newt.
Exactly.
Scamander.
Exactly.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Newt Scamander, and I read this quote, and
cool.
I always try to have a little connection to our chapter or topic, and Newt is our guy when it comes to magical creatures, and creatures that are, and I think like imperfect understanding probably refers to like misinformation or misconception.
Okay.
Could be more dangerous than ignorance.
Yeah.
Like that's how I understand it. When you, instead of, I don't even want to know about it, it couldn't be more dangerous to have, rumors that they do things they don't really do. And that's his belief is most creatures are misunderstood.
Yeah.
I think that's what he wants to say.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. So sometimes, we get like an idea in our mind and we think we do know something, right? And we probably know more than maybe most people, but if it's skewed in some way, it's always good to, I think, go back and reevaluate where we're at, self-assess and sort of think about our own thinking and what our beliefs are and why they are that way. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, I don't know, things can get kind of jaded or we can misremember some stuff or whatever. And then, so it's just good to analyze that, I guess, right? So
yeah. And it leads us right into our next section, which is our weekly Magizoology
Let's go. Okay.
lesson. And, like Bill and Fleur, we have decided we just want to learn more about magical creatures and fantastic beasts and share that knowledge with you guys. So, we can all appreciate them more. And Nude would be proud of us.
Yes, he would.
And this week, I was going to have you guess, which creature we're going to talk about in regard to this chapter.
Yeah.
And I think you would have figured it out pretty quickly.
I already saw it too, yeah.
I know. we're going to talk about the basilisk.
Why? Why are we talking about the basilisk?
Because the basilisk is the king of the serpents.
I really don't like snakes.
I know you don't.
They scare me.
I know.
I have dreams about them, and it's just, I don't know. I'll tell you a story after you're done. Go ahead. I'll have a story about snakes.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to look at the entry in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them about basilisks. And, I mean, you could figure that out. Their classification is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5X. So
Whoa.
XX. Which is known wizard killer, impossible to train or domesticate.
Impossible?
Well, yeah, impossible for most witches and wizards, because some, they can control them.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The first recorded basilisk was bred by Herpo the Fowl, a Greek dark wizard and parselmouth, who discovered after much experimentation that a chicken egg hatched beneath a toad would produce a gigantic serpent possessed of extraordinarily dangerous powers.
What the heck?
Can
So
you
it's
imagine?
a chicken. Its parents are literally like a chicken and a toad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's it.
That's some
crazy.
dark magic right there.
And can you imagine what he experimented with until he figured that out?
How many other things did he put? Like, he took a chicken egg and he said, all right, I'm going to, let's try this. And he set these things on top of it. It's crazy.
An interesting connection. I know that's a little bit later in here. Interesting connection that the cry of a rooster is detrimental to basilisks. And I'm like,
Really? You mean
how does that fit in with the chicken connection? The cry of a rooster. Almost like he's not, I don't know, like it's the fall's chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And the rooster is like its enemy or something. I don't know. It was interesting.
Well, yeah, or it's sort of it's a crying foul to this idea. And there's in this guy's name.
Yeah.
What was his name? Foul?
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's like
Interesting.
I don't know. But yeah, that's weird. That's so you might
And here's a description. So the basilisk is a brilliant green serpent that may reach up to 50 feet in length. And I was gonna look that up in meters
Gotcha.
for all our European listeners.
Gotcha.
And, all over the world because...
But and it's in that book that way? This book is an American...
Oh, good question.
Because normally stuff is done and not done in...
Well, don't they use it in Britain? Don't they?
Do
use
they?
Feet? Oh, my goodness.
I don't know. What?
Yeah.
I have no idea. So 50 foot would be 15 meters.
Wow. Okay. That's huge. Yeah.
15 meters.
I mean, we get an idea how it's depicted in the movies, but still, like 15 meters long. That's crazy.
Here's an interesting question. Do the British use feet is what I typed in. And like just to laugh about that for a second. Yes, obviously they use their feet. You know what I mean?
Dad joke.
Sorry. Yeah, some British people still use one or more imperial units in everyday life for distance, miles, yards, feet, inches. Okay.
But they use the metric system.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Okay. So here's the thing. The male has a scarlet plum upon its head, and that made me think, the one in the movie doesn't have that, so the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets must be a female. And in the article, I found another Wikipedia article about the basilisk.
Okay.
It says she.
Okay.
They refer to it as a female.
Okay. So that makes sense then why. So what was it on top of its head? A plume?
Yeah. Oh, did I say plum?
No, I don't know. What is
Plume?
it? Plume?
Plume.
Plume?
A
Okay.
scarlet plume upon its head.
So that would be kind of like a rooster. Like
Yeah.
a rooster has that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Then we know it has exceptionally venomous fangs, but its most dangerous means of attack is the gaze of its large yellow eyes. Anyone looking directly into these will suffer instant death. And here's something.
Unless.
What Newt didn't know when he wrote this book, because this happened after he wrote a book that no one knew that a basilisk, like if you have like that indirect look,
Through a
that you would
reflection or
be-
something. Yeah.
yeah, that you would be instead petrified.
Yeah.
Because they had to figure that out on their own. That's what Harry actually was
Yeah.
the one who made the connection. I mean, Hermione's research, like she figured it out first, couldn't tell anyone because she was petrified, and then
Right.
Harry and Ron made the connection, and
Yeah.
Newt didn't even know. So
Yeah, that is kind of wild. I mean, it's an indirect look, and so therefore you're just petrified. What a weird thing. And also, thankfully, a good thing that they all just kind of
I
saw
know,
it through a
yeah.
reflection. Otherwise, we'd have like a bunch of moaning myrtles running around
I know.
or floating around, whatever. Wow.
If the food source is sufficient enough, the basilisk will eat all mammals and birds and most reptiles. And they say the one in the chamber survived on rats mostly. The serpent may attain a very great age. Herpo the Fowl's basilisk is believed to have lived for close on 900 years.
Holy smokes. It's like as old as Yoda.
Yeah. And I mean, the basilisk, when did they found the school? Because that was Salazar's basilisk.
Okay.
So it must have survived for whatever
However long, yeah.
However old the school is.
Thing's ancient.
It is.
Jeez.
So the creation of basilisks has been illegal since medieval times, although the practice is easily concealed by simply removing the chicken egg from beneath the toad when the Department of the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures comes to call.
Oh. Wait, so you're not allowed you are allowed to, or
No,
you're
you're
not allowed
not allowed. Definitely not. But
Okay.
if they say, well, what are they going to do?
to? Why would anyone want a basilisk? Why would you want to make
That's
one?
the thing. They say that since the basilisks are uncontrollable except by parcel mouths,
Yeah.
who are really rare, they're as dangerous to most dark wizards as to anybody else. So no one really wants to breed them unless you are a parcel mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
There have been no recorded sightings of basilisks in Britain for at least 400 years. And that's, again, Newt wrote this before the events of Chamber of Secrets.
Gotcha. Can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. So, parcel tongue, is that something you could learn, or is it really just a gift that is given that you're born with, or whatever? Like,
Interesting that you ask.
because Dumbledore could speak to like mer people and stuff, right? I almost wonder if you could learn it, or if there's.
I was going to talk about that in the chapter, actually. I wrote, I read a little bit about parcel tongue. And to answer your question, Dumbledore, for example, he's not considered a parcel mouth, but he understands a little bit of it. And even, people like Ron or Ginny. Well, Ginny didn't really do it consciously. She was kind of forced by Tom. But Ron, he remembers what Harry said.
It, yeah.
So he'll learn, even if it's a small thing. I guess you would never be able to learn the full language. I think you can repeat things without really understanding it, I would say.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
Can you go ahead and just give us your best impersonation of parcel mouth, parcel tongue? What do you got? Okay, that actually was pretty good. That was like, she did not rehearse that. No, we did not edit that. That was good.
No. That was my first try.
Heck, doors were opening.
What if I am a parcel mouth?
There's literally snakes coming out of the creek behind me. Oh my gosh.
Who knows? Maybe,
I didn't know. I thought you were Ravenclaw. I didn't know a little Slytherin over here. Jeez, cow.
Yeah. Well, in the movies, they say it's different described in the book, where it's more like in the movies you can clearly hear like the sounds, right? And in the books it's more described as a very, very distinct, you can almost miss it, like something like the very, very soft.
Yeah, so because remember
in
when
volume, yeah,
like they kind of like I love when Ron, at least in the film, when he's talking about when Harry is calling off the snake, right? He's like, oh, so that's what you were saying to it, right? Like no one knew what he was saying. He's like, oh, of course, right?
Oh, I love how they interpret that part in Puffs. in the play.
Oh.
It's so genius.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, we will be referencing Puffs, the play, the Broadway play, right?
so
If you haven't had a chance to watch it,
I think it's on Amazon.
it's
At
on
least
Amazon.
In the States,
please
it
go
is.
watch it and please talk about it with us because it is so fabulous.
It is.
Like,
It's just hilarious.
It's
and
hilarious
they did such a
and-
good job. I'm so like that really makes me so grateful for everyone who, and that's what we talked about yesterday actually. What we do is we expand on the universe. We put something out there. We talk about, like different characters and
yeah.
different connections in the world. And what we do is we expand the world, and even every little piece of artwork, music that you compose
It's
about
inspired
it,
by it, or
the play,
Yep.
it's all expanding on the world that we
cosplays, people out there
love.
doing cosplays
Yeah.
and stuff, and like blends of characters and going to the theme park and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all part of the wizarding world and it growing and stuff. So like
We
people
love it.
listening are a part of that. We're a part of it. It's cool. I love being in
Yeah.
that community, in that fandom.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
Yeah.
All right, the most before
Yeah.
do I want to mention it? Yeah, real quick, because it was cool. That the basilisk actually refers to something in the Muggle mythology. Did you know that there was something called a basilisk?
Oh, I think because remember we were looking up like the Chillin', and we were looking up things that were rooted that J.K. Rowling had kind of like pulled from mythology or whatever. I think that's
Yeah.
cool when you do that, or when you reference sort of it feels more witchy, it feels more wizardry, it feels
Yeah.
more like a part of ancient,
Yeah, and
magic
this
stuff.
entire like, okay, here's the Muggle world and here's the wizarding world, and they try to conceal it. It's almost like as when I was 11 and I read it, I was almost like convinced, okay, this could be true because we're
Yeah, it
just
could be
Muggles
real.
and we
Yeah.
don't know, And this makes it even more like, okay, there is myths and legends about those creatures. But what I think was funny was in the article about basilisks as in European legends, it says the basilisk's weakness is the odor of the weasel.
Yeah, I just saw it fighting, going up against a weasel. That is like ridiculous.
I know.
Well, and then you think about weasels and chickens and stealing eggs and stuff like that, and just
I just thought about
common-
Ron Weasley
oh my god,
and Ginny Weasley actually.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Their odor is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Saves the day.
Yeah.
My God.
And an interesting fact. Oh, sorry, we're almost done on the basilisk, but it's just cool because Ginny Weasley, she killed all the roosters at Hogwarts.
What?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. That was one of the things she did, and it was something small that's mentioned on the side. But
Holy smokes.
it's just
though.
if you put it all together, makes sense.
I love doing this. I do because like that stuff I don't remember that. And I'm just sort of like, wait, what? Okay.
And like poor Ginny, yeah,
Oh yeah, I love Jenny.
yeah,
I love Jenny. She's so cool.
yeah.
But all right, cool. That was interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, last question,
Yeah.
sweetie. Would you want to have a basilisk?
Now, 9.
Okay, let's say you were capable of speaking parcel tongue. Would you want to have one?
I would tell it to be good and to stay in this certain area where it will have plenty of rats and different things or whatever.
Yeah.
And to not ever touch humans.
Yeah.
And to not, whatever, just natural. I don't know. I mean, again, because it's part of their natural whatever, prey. No, I'm just out. Let me tell you guys a story. I said I was going to tell a story.
Yeah.
I used to go, my father is a pastor, by the way. I'll go ahead and mention that. And we had a little church. This little church with some outhouses. So, like, no bathrooms. No bathrooms inside the church.
I know where this is.
Nothing whatsoever. Okay? Have you ever had to go to the bathroom so bad that you would risk walking into this ancient, spider-filled, old, like, floorboards are cracking outhouse that could have snakes inside of it, right? Snakes live underneath it. And I'm not talking like, oh, it's an outhouse where like they come and change. No, guys, you know the outhouse I'm talking about, which is just like it's an old wooden outhouse. And literally you're just going in there to use the bathroom and it's all going into the ground and it's whatever. I mean, there were, I'll never forget when we just saw a couple snakes back there. And I was like, what are we supposed to do when we go to the bathroom? It got to be ridiculous. Like the woman's bathroom was actually, there was two of them, two of these things, right? And the one is in front of the other. And again, this is just how I grew up, guys. I mean, I don't go there anymore, etc. But it's like, it was a funny, interesting moment in my life where those are the outhouses we have to go to. I flat out was like crying one day. I asked my mom, like, can I just go to the woman's? I saw a snake. Like, I saw snakes back there. You didn't see a snake. Yes, I did. Yes, I did see a snake back there. And then you know what I had dreams of? I had dreams of myself. Yeah, you can hear him. A whole, almost like Indiana Jones. Have you ever seen that movie? He falls into a pit of snakes. Oh, I felt like there was just a pit of snakes hanging out down there, and I had to go to the bathroom in there. That is crazy. You talk about a terrible nightmare. And then it was just sort of like, I don't know. Then it just evolved into all these crazy snake dreams where, like, I was afraid of them, and you know what I mean. I mean, I'm sure some snakes are good, and I'm sure they're whatever. They're just, I know people love them, but
I used to want to have one when I was young with one of my best friends from elementary school. We were planning on convincing our parents that we want to have pet snakes.
So when I was in my biology class, they had a python. They had a python. Yeah.
Really? The school was allowed to have a snake?
Absolutely. They had in biology class, they had a big old snake. It got out, by the way.
No.
Yes. And they fed it and everything. It did get out one time. It was crazy. Not going to lie. Like, lockdown, schools on lockdown, snakes out of the cage.
Wow.
Like, it was crazy. This was back in the day.
Here? Mount Vernon High School?
Yes, absolutely.
What if it's still, snaking around somewhere?
I have no idea, but I was just like, this is bonkers. Snakes are crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wouldn't want to have one, even if you were capable of.
Just out.
Yeah, I agree, actually, because even if I could speak Purcell tongue, there's still, like, for example, the Basilisk in the chamber doesn't listen to Harry even though he speaks it because he has a different master, or she has a different master. And I would just be afraid if I couldn't control it, it would hurt, people that I love, or in general, people, like, not just people that are near me, but in general, like, get out and hurt someone. So
those things are huge.
No. And no.
I'm out. Yeah. All right.
Alrighty.
Oh, boy. We are, by the way, from time to time, we'll be skipping sort of our Potter Watch section. And we're not going to mention that in the future. If we just skip it, we skip it because either the news is so sad we don't really want to read about it, or there is no news, or whatever it might be. We're just kind of bits here and there. So it's more about the reread. Yeah. So let's dive into that.
Let's dive into the summary of the chapter. We wake up with Harry in the cupboard under the stairs. 10 years after the night of Voldemort's fall, and Harry being dropped off on the Dursley doorstep. Actually, we're getting ripped right out of Harry's dream about that night by Aunt Petunia's very sweet and gentle wake-up call, and join in on Dudley's 11th birthday party. Very quickly, it becomes clear that Dudley is the most spoiled little brat you can imagine, while Harry himself gets treated like a barely tolerated house elf. However, due to Harry's babysitter, Squib Lady, being injured, the Dursleys reluctantly take him along on a visit to the zoo in honor of Daddy Dum's special day. At the zoo, birthday boy is dying of boredom at the sight of a sleeping snake, but Harry takes pity and starts talking to the poor reptile. To his surprise, the boa constrictor shows unbelievably responsive behavior, and the two of them actually have a conversation. Once Dudder's BFF Pierce sees the snake in action, they both run over, harshly bring Harry to a fall, and try to get a good look at the boa, only to jump away in horror since the safety glass between them and the animal had disappeared. The snake is free and makes an attempt to escape for Brazil, leaving the entire reptile house in chaos. Unfortunately, Pierce drops on the way back home that Harry was the one talking to the snake right before the glass vanished. Harry's not only immediately grounded, but also denied any meals that night. Before poor Harry falls asleep on an empty stomach, he thinks back to many other unexplainable encounters and memories in his life that seem to keep happening only to him.
Poor guy. I'm actually, we just had breakfast and I'm hungry.
I know.
Like, come on. I just feel like that is not...
My first thought, if I can share this with you, and I said this earlier to you when we were listening to the audiobook, I just want to hug that 10-year-old Harry and give him some love.
Yeah.
Because he's just, we get this first description of how life is now in Privet Drive. There's pictures of Dudley everywhere being loved by his parents. There's no pictures of Harry, no pictures of his parents. He's not loved at all.
Yeah. That's interesting that you pointed out. And here, I want you guys to think about something for a second. We always try to do these, this could be nothing. This could be something that J.K. Rowling didn't, intend on or whatever. But it's worded, the way it's worded in the opening of this chapter is that there was no sign that another boy was living there, right? He's the boy who lived, right? There's no sign that there's another boy living there. There also is, like, as far as we know, no sign that Voldemort is living, right? Out there or whatever. There were whispers and signs, right? There were like all these different things.
Yeah.
Like later on, there were signs, right?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. There's no sign that he's living there. And truly, when you think about that, I mean, yes, he's alive, but is he living? He's not really living this life. He doesn't feel alive or that he's even living until he goes and he embraces sort of his true self and he becomes a wizard. He is a wizard, but like he doesn't know it. And it just I thought it was interesting the choice of words in that phrase, right? There was no sign that another boy was living there. Yeah.
Almost like, the question is it better because that way it's almost like Harry doesn't exist and no one can come no one
strike
really
against
knows.
him. Yeah, who knows?
Maybe it's for his safety, but at the same time, you look at how he copes with that is, I think, amazing, because you're almost like, he gets like woken up really like roughly by Mrs. Dursley, his Aunt Petunia, and she's just yelling at him, "Hey, get breakfast ready and don't you burn the bacon because it's Dudgy Dum's birthday today." And just the thought of him, like, instead of, I mean, he hates the life there, but at the same time, he just lives in his own little world and he tries to keep his distance. He knows he's not really wanted there. He doesn't have friends at school. No one really wants to talk to him because they don't want to get involved in, a fight with Dudley, because everyone knows Dudley,
I doesn't like him. Yeah,
he doesn't like Harry.
That
he
weird.
Likes to punch him.
What do they say? Like that odd Harry Potter, or that weird. Like it's just.
And it just makes me so sad. At the same time, he does so well like looking at his life there, which is not really, like you said, it's not really a life. You don't get to enjoy things. Sometimes they deny him food. Even they give him just old stuff. They never really give him anything to enjoy. He just, all he has is his imagination,
right,
to play with. Really, no one can get to his thoughts, really, right? That's his own realm, and that's what he does. He kind of goes to this world and his dreams. He can't really talk about it, and sometimes it just he's a 10-year-old boy. And it just slips out like, "Oh yeah, I had this dream about flying motorcycle." You can't say that in the Dursleys' house, but he just, it's everything to him. That's his world, And in regards to the, he has to do all the chores at their house.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you think Harry later on is like a good, like houseman who does all the a lot of chores and tells Ginny things like, "Oh, Aunt Petunia used to cook it this way," and stuff like that?
Oh my gosh. Or he like rebels and it's just like, "I'm not doing this at all.
Yeah, I've done
I
this.
will use magic for everything that we can do, And
probably, but
whatever.
Cooking food is a different thing, yeah.
Yeah. True. Yeah, he's not supposed to burn the bacon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be perfect for dudders.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting because he does sort of learn how to do a lot of household chores and stuff. We've actually even joked with the idea that what if they, because I know Harry absolutely loves that Weasley, like the Burrow, right? So we kind of jump ahead here. He loves it. Ginny grew up there. She might want more of a modern style home.
Yeah.
Or But then, so something that's not really that like classic, that classic feel that the Dursleys have, but like more, kind of like your style, like a black and white, real clean, real whatever. Heart, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like she might like that.
Yeah, to just have something different from what she grew up in.
Yeah, because I don't think Harry would want to be reminded of the Dursleys' experience, but also Ginny's sort of like, I kind of want to get away from like the Burrow feel, and Harry's like, I love that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they might just be like, oh, let's go for something kind of, like their own style. What does their house look like? It would be so bonkers to kind of see that, I think.
Yeah, remember we looked at that kitchen and we are like, oh, what if that's Harry and Ginny's kitchen and they're just...
Well, and then I thought, even, and sorry, so we're going to kind of jump away for a second here, but like Ron, he was always wanted to have a bit of money. And Hermione is from the Muggle world, and like he might love
dentists.
that clean look, that vibe, or whatever. A nice sofa to relax in, and just I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah,
big windows.
I can see that.
Ron would just be like living the good life there,
Yeah.
So I don't know. Before we go, let me see here. So a couple things too. I just want to mention the spiders. Harry's always been hanging out with the spiders.
Yeah.
Under the in his little cupboard.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, as a kid, sorry to interrupt you here, but as a kid, I was like so impressed by that. I was like, I kind of wish, and not saying I wanted to live under the. I mean, like little kids were probably like, oh, that's cool. It's cozy and dark in there.
Yeah, when
it's like an adventure, but not as a permanent room, right? It's more like, oh, this is our little cave or whatever. And I was like so impressed because I was as a kid, and even now. It's gotten better, but as a kid, I was so scared of spiders. I was like, oh, I wish I could be, better with it and not be... Every time I saw a spider, I had to call my brother or my mom. Mm-hmm. Can you please get rid of it? And I feel bad because I like animals and I don't... If I don't have to, I don't necessarily like killing them, but I just like... I can't live with that spider in my room, please.
How about those spiders we saw in Costa Rica? Oh, my God.
That is unreal.
They're massive. Big as your hand.
There was literally, we were in our Airbnb, ready to start the day, go on an adventure around the volcano. We opened the door and just like waiting there for us to open the door. It was, I kid you not.
Did I not walk over it or something?
Giant spider. I was actually
Didn't I
scared
walk
for
out
my
the door?
life.
Didn't I walk out the door and you stayed inside? Because I was just like,
I know,
what are you doing?
I'm so... Sorry, I'm freaking out right now even thinking about it, but I was so thankful that you were able to get rid of it because I could not have slept in that Airbnb one more night if I knew that had escaped somewhere in the closet or something. I honestly, you cannot imagine how big that spider was.
It was it was
bigger than my
hand.
hand.
It was bigger than your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. We're probably freaking somebody out right now.
Sorry.
But sorry about that. Anyway. Also, I'm not sure when this comes up or not. So we're about to the presents, right? Where they're talking about the presents and how many that we're going to get.
Yeah.
We had the whole line about, not asking what questions, whatnot. But first, what's brought up is like Dudley's computer and computer games. And I just want to mention something. Was this not... So this was 1991, right? When was the first book written, though? Philosopher's Stone... Like publication. Does it have in the front of that book, sweetie? Just like the publication date?
Let's
1997, I think, is when it is. But I just
Here
want to make sure.
1998. Winner of the 1997 National Book Award.
Okay, so this says June 26, 1997. So anyways, 97, 98, whatever. Here's my thought. So she's writing this, and who knows when she wrote it, a couple years prior or whatever. But I think you're thinking about a computer that you'd be getting. In 1991 was the timeline for that. So I was like, what type of computer would that have been? I don't know if it was ever thought of this, but I think it's like
oh, it would have been massive.
It would have been massive, but also what version of Windows would that have been? So Microsoft Windows 3.0 or 3.0A was a multimedia that was released in October of 1991. Microsoft Windows, but Microsoft Windows 3.1 was released in 92. And then we kind of go on and stuff. But like what I'm used to what I remember is like Windows 97, Windows 98.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember those. It's so weird to think like what kind of computer did he have? He had computer games and he had all this kind of stuff. So I feel like, she's writing that later, thinking about those computers, but like to reflect back and think in the early 90s, what did they have?
Yeah.
It's not much.
True.
Pretty bad. Like it was not very good. So just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. And it's cool to think, like, when Harry, he almost thinks, oh, maybe I can stay at home alone. He's almost like, he wants to get a go at Dudley's computer. And it's like, all these, like, it's almost like you wonder, because they did that brilliantly in Puffs in the play, where, what's his name? Wayne is also a Muggle born, right?
Yeah,
he's born into the Muggle world, or kind of, because he's also an orphan and lives with another family. But he grows up with Game Boys, right? And that's like stuff they even like mention at Hogwarts, and you would think like there's probably a couple of like Muggle born kids who grew up with computers and Game Boys and stuff, and it's that's the Surface Windows interface.
Yeah, so I'm just showing. Right now, I'm showing Lottie the sort of the interface and what it looks like. So the program manager and then Windows.
Oh my goodness!
Just type in
it's
Microsoft
cool.
Windows version 3.0.
Nostalgia.
And just go back and look at some of this stuff.
Cool.
You know, it's just crazy.
It looks awesome. I think.
To kind of think about. I don't even know.
No, that's so cool that I don't know. I almost want to say, well, they couldn't really bring Game Boys into Hogwarts because I think electronic devices don't really work there, right? So
Yeah.
but it's just fun to think about. Sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Back to the chapter here.
Hey, this was connected to the chapter, okay? So I'm looking at video games also, by the way, in the 1991. Because he gets all these games. He gets tons of games. And
I know. And there's
has
even
a
a
sick
picture.
computer.
There's even a picture of him. It's mentioned right at the beginning. There's a picture of him and Vernon playing computer game together. Like
Really?
it's the newest thing that in the 90s. You're right. Like
Wow.
computer games. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but talking about all the presents he gets, I'm gonna tell you, I get anxiety when I think about all the stuff that Dudley gets, and he doesn't even need it, or he probably uses it once, and then we learn Harry's like, why does he get a racing bike? He hates like any kind of exercise. Or we learn that he uses his one TV for 2 weeks and then he gets angry and he destroys it, and like all that stuff that he's just, it piles up, it's everywhere, and he doesn't even need it or use it like that. I'm just hoping like we kind of like are in a phase where we kind of get over that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Acquiring all this
my
stuff.
sister has recently switched to like its experiences, right?
Yeah.
And taking your child. I mean, because some is okay, but I even look at my own niece and nephew, and we're just like, what? I mean, everyone. The default is just to buy someone a toy or a book or even those. I mean, it's sort of like, gosh, we have so much stuff.
Yeah.
That it would be. It's just wild to think about. Like, we'd almost want like an experience or something, or teaching people. I love the Hobbits who they give you gifts on their birthday, right?
Yeah.
Which is sort of like the opposite, which is like, here's a gift. Thanks for coming to my thing, or whatever. And I thought
thanks for celebrating my birthday.
And you know what's different in Germany, by the way, about birthdays is that like when people when I went out for your mom's birthday, it was no, I invited you to my birthday.
Yeah.
So I'm paying.
You're paying, as a birthday.
The birthday girl or boy is paying.
Yeah.
For you to come to dinner
when
with
you're an
them.
adult, yeah.
When you're an adult, yeah. But over here, it's like, no, we're always taking each other. Hey, it's your birthday. Let me buy you dinner. Let me take you out for your birthday, right? And you're initiating that.
Yeah.
Or even if that person like invited you to their birthday dinner, typically, you might make food at your house or whatever.
But they bring something.
They bring something, or I don't know. Yeah, it's just different. I thought it was so cool how in Germany it was sort of like, no, I invited you. I'm paying for this or whatever, and it just seems natural. That should. Maybe that's just an Ohio thing. I don't know. But like, Anyway. By the way, in case you guys were wondering, just to back up a little bit there, Wing Commander was a 1991 game that was released. That was pretty sick. I bet you he had Wing Commander.
Oh, yeah, probably.
So, there you go.
All right, so Dudley gets all his birthday present. They watch him just ripping the paper off all the stuff. But while they're watching Dudley, Petunia's getting a phone call. And it's not good for the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Sweetie, Mrs. Fig has broken her leg.
How? How did she break her leg?
I think it says she stumbled upon one of her kitties.
She tripped over one of her cats? Because I think we talked about this at some point, but it's just like, poor thing, you know? I mean, like, this creates this whole experience, and... Yeah, but like the other big question I have about Mrs. Fig is like, how did they first meet Mrs. Fig.
I know, right?
Because this is someone who they know. She lives 2 streets away, is what the book says, right? Has these cats, etc. Does she know who Harry Potter is? Again, you think like it's insinuated later that like Dumbledore had something to kind of do with this and is keeping a watch over things. But what a cool thing. 'Cause he's legendary. His name is legendary in the wizarding world. Yeah. So if Mrs. Fig knows that, and this is like some...
she does, yeah.
Right, so some role that she's playing in his life early on and watching him and taking care of him, that's huge.
And I just had a thought, like, what's up with all her kitties, right? What if they, like they kind of, all the kitties go on, like almost like Mrs. Norris and Filch, the kitties go and kind of, try and watch the house, the Dursleys' house, and kind of, like report or whatever or like make sure everything's okay. And if not, Mrs. Fig gets like a hint from her kitties.
Wow.
Because she can't, like, she still lives 2 streets away, so she can't, like, have an eye on him all the time. But what if her cats do that, like, in turns?
Yeah, and just because you're a squib doesn't... So, Umbridge in her room had all of those like portraits of cats that were coming and going and telling her what was up, right? They could travel between 2 portraits or something, or who knows what the whole deal was, right? They could warn her of something. That is... So you think of different things that Dumbledore even could have created or that could have happened inside of that house that maybe could have been used to help keep track of
I'm sure
of Harry or keep him safe. If they're going to send him anywhere, it's like she's always like, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, who wants to take him? I mean, the other person, by the way, is Yvonne. Yvonne, Aunt Petunia's friend. Mentioned one time, this one offshoot. What about your friend Yvonne or whatever? And it's like, who's that? Who's this random person that Petunia could have? Because wasn't she away on vacation or something?
Vacationing on Mallorca.
Yeah, and it's like, who is that person? I'm just when you start to dig into little details, it's just sort of fascinating that like.
I mean, she clearly, like, they were considering, they said, oh, Aunt Marge, she hates the boy. But Yvonne probably would have said, yeah, sure, I'll take care of him. And who knows, maybe she would have, been like a normal babysitter, like, hey, watch TV and have some food and stuff.
Right. Yvonne was a Muggle woman who was friends with Petunia. And let's see, that is it. One mention,
I think
in,
she
out,
doesn't
done.
Play a huge role.
I mean, what if though? What if she came back? You think we did this whole thing on Petunia. Maybe she knows more. Maybe Petunia confided stuff in Yvonne and in the new Harry Potter series that's coming out. Like Harry talks with her and he did spend time with her more or whatever.
I mean, they try to conceal, like they try to hide that they have another boy living with them, right? But Yvonne clearly knows about it. It's not like, oh yeah, guess what? We have another. Yeah, like our nephew is living with us. Can you take care of him? But she seems to know. It's like,
just think about that for a second, though. If Yvonne, I mean, maybe Petunia in front of Vernon just doesn't want to like talk about all of her anxieties and fears in the wizarding world. But maybe she did confide in someone like this or whatever, a friend of hers, because he's like, oh, what's her name? Your friend Yvonne. Right, and just because we got that tidbit. By the way, it's in our kind of our extendable ear edition where we talk about Petunia and what she held on to, the item that she kept all those years, and then the Dudley stuff or whatever. So to have a friend who also maybe had letters or like knew more about her relationship or her feelings on her sister and Harry. Sorry, guys, I like to kind of take one little thing and just think about it for a second. You know? So.
Yeah, because she's still a person. But also, my guess is she keeps it pretty secret because she's so scared of anyone finding out. And we'll see later in this chapter, their worst, biggest fear ever is Harry being connected, like his magical abilities showing. So that's like their biggest fear. But before we move on here, just one more thought about Mrs. Fig. Like, she broke her leg, but... why is there no magical person who could help her with that? Like, we learn later on, Madame Pomfrey actually tells us, to mend bones, no problem. Like, she can do that in minutes or seconds.
Right.
Grow them? That's another story. But, like, mend them, that doesn't seem to take a lot.
Right.
So it's like, poor Mrs. Fig, like, help her out. She's an older lady with a broken leg. That's not even funny.
Right.
Like, just saying. They should have sent someone who can help her.
Can we? So one of our extendable ear, moments might actually be. I have her page pulled up here, and I'm just sort of reading about some stuff on her. I think it'd be cool to kind of go back and
talk about her
and sprint ahead and see her later life and talk about all the cool things that
that'd be cool.
surround Mrs. Fig and some theories that kind of surround her as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, but I feel bad. She broke her leg, and like you said, there's no way to mend that real quick, or it just happened too. She just got the phone call.
True.
Maybe she
didn't even okay.
Maybe she just did, or maybe it was just yesterday, or she's on the way to the hospital. Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe she doesn't want to bother. Like sometimes people are like, I don't really want to bother anyone with my problems, and some people are like that, and they wouldn't even want to ask for help, but they just go to the hospital themselves, and here doctors are paid for that. Yeah. So anyway, so then we get into this whole discussion. What are we going to do now with Harry?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I just want to read that part to you. Like, Harry's like so excited. He's like, you could just leave me here. Harry put in hopefully. He'd be able to watch what he wanted on television for a change and maybe even have a go on Dudley's computer. Aunt Petunia looked as though she just swallowed a lemon. And I want you to give me your best Aunt Petunia lemon face. Can you imagine swallowing a lemon? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just all like crammed. Yeah. And come back and find the house in ruins, she snarled. I won't blow up the house, said Harry, but they weren't listening. I suppose we could take him to the zoo, said Aunt Petunia slowly, and leave him in the car? That car's new. He's not sitting in it alone. And then Dudley has his whole like fake crying
tantrum.
Like,
yeah. Which he stops instantly, right? As Piers comes in.
Yeah, his friend, he's like, never mind. But they're so scared. Like, and I want to make a little connection here to Fantastic Beasts, because I've thought about it so many times. They want to suppress Harry's magical abilities as much as they can. And I always wondered, what if they had succeeded and like to the point where Harry would have developed like an Obscurus or something? Because his he talks about all these different incidences where his magical powers, it's almost like they want to express themselves.
Yeah, they want
to come out and they want to. It's just so cool, but they try to stop that. They actually believe they can put a stop to it and prevent Harry from going to Hagrid.
Well, Hagrid will be involved. Going to old Hagrid school.
To Hogwarts.
Hogwarts, yes.
Sorry.
That's funny.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention, like...
Well, how about this? So, I mean, at this point, most wizards, I guess, and witches, as they're growing up, they're in a home like that, but, like, Hermione might be having... Again, it's more about, like, I think, like, this loving nature, because Hermione might have these moments, too, right, where the magic's trying to express and get out or whatever.
Yes.
And you find out, oh, wow, that kind of explains it. But she was loved, and she was loved and cherished and everything. It feels like there's more to it than just like the suppression of your magic or whatever. I don't even know. But yeah, that is interesting that there's like that there could have been that had this continued, and it was just bubbling up inside of him, and it turned into disdain for his
every
own
time he
nature.
was punished.
Yeah,
almost like what's her name, Mary Lou Barebone. Punished her children if anything,
odd happened.
She found a fake wand and she freaked out, and they were all punished.
Right, and just for having an imagination or having a dream about a flying motorbike, Harry is like, they stop. I mean, it turns around, they're getting yelled at, full on yelled at and stuff. It's crazy. And also just, this is where I have to say, too, because we did talk about Vernon and Petunia for a little bit in the last chapter, and then in our extended, but they openly say, like, Aunt Marge hates the boy. They hates him. Yeah. Why would you say that? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Like, that kind of stuff is terrible.
It's sometimes incredible to me that he still has, a good sense of self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, again, he just had to... what a life. It's just a miserable life. And I don't know, I feel like even moments where you just get to get out of the house and go to school, even though Dudley's friends and stuff, like no one wanted anything to do with him, right? That's said in this chapter because he's wearing these big old baggy clothes.
Yeah.
They're Dudleys, and he's odd, and Dudley picks on him and stuff. But still, just to at least get away from them and find maybe a teacher at school that you could just sit in the corner and read. We never hear about that, but I always like to think there was a teacher who
me
just
too.
said, you don't have to go out. You don't have to go out to recess with all those kids. You can stay in here and read a book.
Yep.
You know? And then that's just a peaceful moment for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Prior to Hogwarts.
I like that.
Be cool to
I like
hear,
that a lot.
Like a reflection on
and
that.
just to make it clear, last time we were like, okay, we're trying kind of to understand where the, like, what's the Dursleys' life like? And what are they? They're just different people, and they have their scars. They are emotional scars.
Right.
But this is unacceptable. This is, of course, like,
all these things are
unforgivable.
Yeah.
Like, this is not, like, this is terrible how they treat Harry, and there's no excuse for that.
Right.
Obviously.
And they're meant to be, it's meant to be kind of like a play, like it's on a level of like, it's exaggerated for kids.
Right.
It's meant to, really show a contrast between the wizarding world, the muggle world, and then like, but the bad part, and this is why the genius of having Hermione and other kids who came from muggle homes is so brilliant, because they weren't all bad and they weren't all like that. But Harry really had a bad experience. So, yeah. And there's intriguing backstory and all of it and everything too. But yeah, you have to kind of call it out for what it is. It's you lived this sort of an abusive setting.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And people say also, like, they that makes it sometimes what makes him so strong. Like, he had to retrieve into his an imagination and magical world that lives within him.
Right.
So maybe that's what actually makes him a strong wizard. I mean, he's probably has, I don't know, like, his parents were pretty skilled and stuff, but
for sure. But yeah, like your environment and resiliency and things that you grow, that you overcome and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for sure, it's not anything you want to set a kid up or a child up into or whatever. But it is, it is. I don't know. It's interesting to think about and just how people evolve despite their environments and stuff. And so. Okay, cool. Let's. Oh God, we gotta get to Hogwarts. We have got to get to Hogwarts because this
so much backstory.
This
here,
stuff is
we're
just
already
killing me.
Yeah.
But it is cool. She kind of pulls you along in terms of like, okay, intriguing, magical people. Drop this boy off in the first chapter.
Yeah.
These people are awful. Clearly, some crazy magical stuff is going on.
Yeah.
He goes to the zoo and has a super magical moment.
I know.
So definitely where there's a lot of intrigue. It's a good hook. It's a good setup. It's a good sort of leading us into a complete shift.
Yeah.
And that is the satisfying thing about, I think, this book and this series and every book that you kind of go into in the Harry Potter series is that, all right, we have to go back to like the Durs. It's almost like we have to like, I don't know. There's some, let's say you're a little kid and there's something that you have to eat to get to dessert because you want to eat, like my niece Rachel often has to like eat a certain amount of this or whatever, and then you get something kind of sweet or what she really wants, and so we have to kind of get through the Dursley portion to get to Hogwarts, and it's like, oh yes, all right, here we are.
Yeah. Mentioning like all the sweets, it's like cool to see Harry's having a blast.
Doesn't he get
the
like
zoo.
Doesn't he get like an ice cream?
He gets like 2 different types of, like, he gets like a ice pop, I think, like a lemon thing. Darn it, the lady said, what do you want? And they can't be like, never mind, just move along. No, they're like, okay, no, we have to buy him something. And they buy the cheapest ice cream. But then, do you want to say something?
Just real quick, I wanted to, have you guys noticed how many times lemons have been referenced in the first couple chapters?
Oh, true.
Sherbet lemon, Petunia's face, this lemon pop, and so on.
Maybe she was just obsessed with lemon at the time.
I don't know, but it happens.
But it's even, isn't it the password to Dumbledore's office too?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a type of candy that he loves and stuff. So it's little things like that I kind of like as you go along. And like there's lemon pie later on. There's different things at Hogwarts. So just
lemons are super healthy. I've been since I've been sick, I've been drinking my squeezed lemon water every day.
Yeah, with a bit of ginger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Love it.
Ginger root.
Yeah.
Roots are good for you. Okay, back to the lemon pop. Yeah.
Right, and then the second one, and I just never thought about it. It's just one of the things you just read, and you're like, okay, you guess it's an ice cream. But the second type is Dudley orders a Knickerbocker Glory. And I'm like, what is a Knickerbocker Glory? And probably all the people in the UK are like, what? You don't know what a Knickerbocker Glory is?
No, I'm looking it up right now.
So I have it all pulled up here.
Oh.
It's a layered ice cream sundae that is served in a large, tall, conical glass and to be eaten with a distinctive long spoon, particularly in Great Britain, Ireland. The Knickerbocker Glory, first described in 1920, second ice cream fruit. And what's meringue? Meringue? It's MERINGUE.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so layers and different sweet tastes are... you can top it with all kinds of like syrups, nuts, whipped cream, and fruit and stuff. So yeah, it's like just a big...
It looks delicious.
Sundae.
If you haven't, go look this up. Knickerbocker Glory. It is like this tall. It's got whipped cream. It's got some, as you said, layers and fruit and all sorts of stuff in here. So it looks delicious.
Yeah. So Harry has the time of his life, actually. But it's funny that it's mentioned because he's like, yeah, he should have known. This is too good. This is like...
Yeah, too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we have one of these?
I know, right?
Can we make one of these and like have it for the next episode or something?
We actually should.
You guys know how much we love food and ambience and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like
let's make them Knickerbocker Glory.
Like I'm always looking for an excuse to have a sweet. So
we have to look it up. Maybe it's in the cookbook, the Harry Potter cookbook thing.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so the boys, they're all sugared up. They have all this ice cream. They're walking along the zoo, and they're like, yeah, it's like, we saw some animals, great.
I love the part where they're like looking at, even when they look at the snake, is like, this is so boring.
I know.
This is boring.
And, Vernon tries to make a move, and Daddy's like, do something.
Come on. Yeah, they're done. Like the zoo has a time limit where you're sort of like, okay, I'm good. I'm done.
It's actually, that's true sometimes, and it's like you're just kind of watching animals do their thing, and a lot of times it depends on the zoo. Sometimes they don't have a lot of space or whatever, and they get bored, and it's just like, okay, the animals are bored, the people get bored.
Right.
But yeah, like, I mean, Dudley is one of the difference between Harry and Dudley is Dudley can't entertain himself. He constantly needs like outside entertainment.
Yeah.
Harry constantly has to make something happen within himself. Like, imagine his own things and stories and dreams. There's almost no, like, he doesn't have a TV or anything, right?
Yeah. That is a really interesting thing, right? As in terms of like imagination. I remember growing up, like a lot of times it would just be you would go outside and play. And what I had was nature, sticks, and different things. And you would go out there and imagine stuff. And again, I actually, a lot of times my sister, she had her own thing and wanted to do her own thing. So I would go and imagine, like, my mom has these memories of me, like, fighting myself in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like, I would have the stick. I would be Peter Pan on one side, then boom, I jump to the other side, and I'm Captain Hook. I think it's a good thing because then you do know how to kind of be on your own and imagine stuff and have you're not relying on something else to really entertain you, etc. And it's good to have a combination. Like it's very fun to go out and we love watching film and reading books or whatever. We're talking about a book that's entertaining and takes us away. But you can kind of do that like on your own, and then from that book you can go out and then imagine, take it further, right?
Right. And some kids, they nowadays, like I'm sorry to point this out, but like they don't know how to deal with boredom anymore. It's like you just constantly need something to fix that feeling of boredom, and it's supposed to be something bad, but actually, like we always talk about, this is actually a good thing to take a moment for yourself and not do any, like, how do you do nothing, like learn how to do nothing from time to time. Yeah,
to sort of be with yourself and reflect and think.
And Dudley definitely can't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Yeah.
Anyway, so Harry takes pity. He's like, that poor snake. I know exactly what you feel like.
Yeah, poor guy. Let's have pity on the snakes.
Sorry, but he just sees almost like himself in there, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, he almost says like, I have it a little bit better even because I can move around the house a little bit.
Yeah, I get around the house. Yeah, for sure.
And like the interesting part to me is he only thinks that he doesn't say out loud yet, but the snake reacts to his thoughts.
Okay.
So I was like, parcel tongue, is that something that also works telepathically? Because I feel like Voldemort would not always like speak everything out loud he says to Nagini. And I can't confirm this for sure, but it's just a feeling I have.
That they can have some sort of telepathic.
Yes.
Cool.
Like because the snake, I don't know, maybe he read, the snake read his like facial expressions and almost like his aura, magical aura, whatever, caught its
Just knew he could
attention.
speak to him or something. Yeah.
But yeah, they start having a conversation.
Wild.
Harry doesn't even realize he speaks a different language.
Yeah.
But he does make sure that, because he's so used to hiding his special abilities, whenever something happens, that he really makes sure, okay, no one's around. He's talking to the snake.
Yeah. Can you imagine too, as you're writing this, like you wrote that, and maybe you left out the fact that there is no, like she doesn't mention anything about like the sound or what it sounds like or anything, but then later on it's like, okay, so actually did she have that thought and said, I'm going to use that later? And there's this, I mean, you know what I mean? Like how much, when you're writing the first book, how much of the second and third and so on in the end of the story do you have? Like it's just crazy to think about, like the Horcrux and the scar, and then the connection and Voldemort's powers. Like there's a lot of I feel like thinking and detail that goes into knowing that, but then also starting off at like a kid's book that you grow with Harry Potter, and the complexity of it grows, the maturity level and everything. You know, it's kind of
even, it doesn't matter to me really if she made it up later or she already knew that it was parcel tongue, because for me it works.
Oh, yeah,
either way, like
that's what I'm saying.
They made it work, however, even if it was not planned or whatever, because we see it through the eyes of Harry. There's no need to say, oh, there's a hissing sound, because he doesn't realize it. So we don't really know about it, because we're, like we kind of see it through his eyes.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter regardless of whether, she knew it or didn't know it. It would just an interesting to think, did she?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a wonder to think.
Yeah.
Like if she's sitting there saying to herself, I'm going to come back to that. Or like writers sometimes will leave themselves different mystical or like kind of like mystery box options that they can come back to.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just going to leave that open. I might want to come back to it and do more with it later. And then as she gets into it, she's like, oh, yep, I like that. I'm going to pull that back. Because sometimes you're like, well, nothing never came of this particular thing in the story. But nothing really needed to, because she didn't need it later on. Just looking at creative writing and how people will leave themselves room for stuff later on. It's I like to kind of think about how she wrote it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how like really good authors have that ability to build a world. Like world building is a thing. Like even I try to learn more about arts and 3D arts, and they talk about world building and thinking about different things in your world that you're creating, even though it's just one snapshot of that. But you're thinking beyond that snapshot, and I like that. That's what authors do. You get through the book, you get that snapshot, but there's more, and they leave the room for later on coming back to that and showing you the expansion of that.
Because in one snapshot in your Blender program or in your artwork or whatever, if you just depicted a floating mountain, there's a whole world behind that. The question is, that mountain's floating. Yeah. How? Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. So anyways, sorry. Cool kind of stuff there, but
yeah.
All right.
So Harry is able to talk to snakes, and it's not Dudley who sees it first, but his friend Pierce. He's like, Vernon and Dudley, you won't believe what that snake is doing. Yeah. And in that moment, Dudley doesn't really know, like, oh, it was Harry. He was just he happened to stand there, and he pushes him aside. He actually punches him in the ribs or something. Harry falls, and they're like trying to get close, a very close look. Yeah. But then they back up, like they're like, oh my goodness. The glass isn't there.
It's not there.
Yeah.
The vanishing glass.
It vanished somehow.
Yeah.
And the snake is free. I don't know. It's interesting, right? That the kids, they don't know any spells yet, but the magic just expresses itself without the spell, and then later on you have to learn that it's considered something advanced to do magic without spells, but that's what kids do.
Yeah, and back, I mean, to the sacrifice point too, right? From Lily, I mean, it's just sort of like, boom, you're just going to jump in there, and then you're just reacting, and you are magical, and there's a magic in that,
right? Or Neville like bouncing off the sidewalk when he falls out the window and stuff.
That's how they knew. That's our boy Neville. Send him to Hogwarts. Crazy.
But they actually, like, the picture you have in your head is always the movie where they fall, or Dudley falls through the glass, and then he's trapped in there. But that's actually not what happened. It's they just kind of back off and wonder, like, oh, the snake is not trapped. It's free.
Yeah, it's
and
free.
The snake gets out, actually, and the whole turmoil breaks out.
He says when the snake is leaving, he uses adios, or does he say
amigo? Yeah,
thanks,
like
amigo.
Friend. It's Portuguese for friend.
Yeah.
He's on his way to Brazil.
Yeah, that's cool. So just throwing in
thanks, amigo.
Thanks,
Brazil. Here I come.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think the snake made it to Brazil, but still.
How do you know?
Yeah, because I don't think they let it, I think they caught it.
Well, definitely it causes a bit of craziness here at the zoo. Like Dudley has this whole moment where it reminded me of Draco when he gets, when Buckbeak sort of like the accident happens. Like, nearly lost my arm. You know, like, so.
That's exactly what they do.
Exaggerating, and then he goes on. I mean, so Dudley really plays it up, like, you know. This terrible thing.
I mean,
nothing happened to him. That snake never even came close to him, right? And he's just acting like it almost bit him, or he's terrified. And did they get like a free zoo membership or something? You wonder. Like,
they probably. I mean, they made her a strong tea, but they probably did get something. Yeah, you're right. And they're like, we're never coming back here.
And they're like, no, we're gonna give you like a pass. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you can see them. You can see Vernon pushing for that,
And then it's Dudley's friend who mentions it in the car that Harry was talking to the snake, and you wonder, like, something unexplainable happens, and the Dursleys are probably already like, oh no, right. Harry was right there. They could already kind of guess that he might have something to do with it,
right? But they're already thinking it, and then Piers points it out.
It makes it even worse. But they wait. Until Piers is gone.
Absolutely.
They can't have that in front of other people.
But you know what? If you're Piers, and I really think this, I think he's been around long enough to know, like, ooh, anything weird that happens with that Potter kid, well, I can cause a reaction. And they're just like devilish, these little guys, Yeah. Like they're just wanting to kind of pick on it. Yeah, it's so crazy. So I'm going to mention something and watch this. He's going to be in so much trouble. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's probably seen Dudley do it before, like running in and telling his mommy and daddy that, like, Harry did this, and then just to see that reaction, and they get to laugh and snicker. It's like, come on. I mean, he already saw it earlier in the car when he mentioned the flying motorbike. Yeah. And Vernon turns around full on, just, red in the face, yells at him. Mm-hmm. So Piers is like, all right, I got to do a little something here to kind of have some fun. Yeah. It's just bizarre. It's unfortunate. But anyway, so he mentions that, and then, he gets back, and he's sent to his cupboard, and no dinner.
That's like, I wrote that down. Throughout all the books, the Dursleys make multiple attempts to starve Harry. Like, literally give him no food as a punishment. Yeah. Which is so unacceptable. But interesting with other things, like his hair. Like, they hate how his hair looks. Shave it all off. Next thing you know, he wakes up in the morning, it's all back. But, like, when, like, it's all like this fear of embarrassment makes the magic come out and grows it back, right? Yeah. With food, unfortunately, we know that there's no way, like, it's just not, he cannot conjure up food or anything. So
interesting. So to kind of take, I know it's super depressing right there at the end, guys, but do you think I have hairy hair? Do you think my hair is a lot like Harry's, and that it?
No.
Because, guys, it's like every 3 days I need a haircut.
That's true. Your hair grows really fast, but it's very straight. Like they said, the hair, like the movie Harry, the actor has his hair is a little bit too straight for the character. Yeah. Because it's supposed to be all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
And I think your hair is just very
I just meant in terms of it
Like-
growing. I feel like, if I were living in the Vernon household, I'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
like,
I mean-
Petunia, get this boy a haircut this week right now. Every week,
Yeah.
get him a haircut. I feel like that'd be me.
It's true.
And I'd love it, quite frankly. I love getting my haircut.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's like a
I
relaxing.
know, it's a nice, fresh feeling after. Too.
I actually wonder if Harry enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Well, again, it was Petunia doing it, so never mind.
Yeah.
I guess not. She was probably not very nice about it.
No.
Because, there's this, people, you get the, like, I don't know. I used to go to a barber shop. And they actually would full on, even as a kid, like, I had no facial hair and,
Yeah.
neck hair to, like, shave or whatever. Sweetie, they would take out a straight blade razor. And the back, where you're, like, where your hair is kind of coming down on your neck or whatever. I was at a barber shop. And they would just use that. And I got so brave. I mean, when I was really little, obviously they didn't do it. But, like, as I got older and stuff, like, the barber asked, and this is the one over Jerry's barbershop that we always pass, right? And he would pull that out.
Yeah.
They'd get the shaving cream out. It was nice and warm on your neck. And they would put it all over. And then he would use that and just gently, you didn't hurt at all. And just would kind of, like, shape up the back of your neck. It felt so good. It smelled so good. That's why I said that soap upstairs smells like that Barbasol kind of, like, shaving cream, and it's so good.
It's so interesting. You have a totally different experience at the barbershop than like hairdresser than I do because, I always had long hair. And what I loved is because my hair gets cut wet. So they wash it and then they cut it because it's just easier to line it up and everything. And it's just so nice when you get your hair washed.
Oh yeah, so for
they
me,
sometimes give you a little head massage. And
for guys,
awesome.
It's a little different. Like, again, on the sides they do it dry, but when you want to cut the top, you want to do some finger length or something, like, they'll spray it and stuff. So if anybody's a hairdresser and, like,
cool.
we love you. By the way, I love people who can do hair.
Yeah, shout out to my cousin and her husband.
Yeah,
they're
right?
awesome.
It's so cool, and it's such a skill, and you feel so good when you get. I mean, I do anyways.
Yeah.
Like, when I get a haircut, and it's the angles matter. So sorry, just a quick little shout out to people who do that because it's fun. But my hair grows like crazy. Yeah. So I felt like Carrie there. I'm like, I gotta trim it up, and
But that's cool. Yeah, love it.
Anyway. Random connection. Okay, that was it, right? That's the chapter.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the end of the chapter for Harry. He's
Let's
just
get to
trapped
Hogwarts.
in there and it's depressing right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not good. Let's just get through this next chapter and let's go. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're on the verge of some really cool.
Me too. I can't wait.
It's like the first chapter is awesome, and then you get to this one, you're like, ugh, and then you're like, all right, something good has got to be happening for this kid because it's real bad right now.
I can't wait for Diagon Alley and everything, and eating Hagrid, and it's so cool. But also, it's interesting to just, like you said, make it through those chapters and talk a little bit about stuff we never really talked about and touched in, and it's cool to go back as an adult and read it that way, like from that perspective.
Sure. Yeah.
Of thinking about a family, and like now it's more like, instead of, okay, I'm that little kid, even though I can remember as a kid I was like, I kind of identified with Harry, and like you're kind of in your own world and stuff.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
But now you kind of think about it as like, oh, that poor Harry, as almost like a motherly feeling of, gosh, give that little boy some love.
I know. But like you said though, I often think of my niece too. So she loves just doing her own thing.
Yeah. True.
She loves just imagining stuff upstairs with her stuff.
Yeah,
and
we love watching her. Like getting it. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Time to move into the advice of the week.
Exactly.
What do you got for us there, sweetie?
So today I just want to talk about something I read this quote before, but it stuck out to me yesterday when I looked at a book about creativity and how visual storytelling works and all that stuff. And they mentioned at the beginning of the book, like the foreword, they mentioned this quote, and it really stuck out to me. And it goes like, I know it's another quote, but we'll go from there. I've learned that people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but remember how you made them feel. And I think that's so true. We sometimes can't remember. I know, like, through words, through actions, we can make somebody feel a certain way, but we won't really remember the exact, like, how did it go? It's more like the feeling they evoked in us. And I think the Dursleys definitely made Harry feel awful. And it's, like we said, it's almost a wonder that he isn't completely depressed as a kid.
Yeah.
And I know it's like an advice. So I wanted to make the connection here just to being a teacher, and even if your profession isn't being a teacher, but also being a parent or just in general in
Boss,
relationships,
supervisor,
right?
yeah.
It's often counts more how you make a student feel. Like in university, we actually discussed it, that one of the best ways to help students learn and like kind of rewire brain cells is through evoking feelings and emotions. That's why we're advised to make connections to their personal interests, their life, their environment, what kind of is going on in their life, like to make a personal connection and evoke those feelings. And yeah, I guess I just want to point that out and just, think about how you make people feel in your life. You want to say something?
No, I totally agree that it's one of those things when think about new learning, and when you really had a moment where you learned something new, or you got you made great progress or strides or whatever. Normally, you got excited about it. You were into it. A teacher fired you up over it, or you found some motivation. You said, "I really like this thing," and then you kind of dive into it. And there's a feeling that's associated. That you have a feeling with that new content or that material or that experience that is really good.
Yeah.
So, again, as you say, it's not that your actions or your words don't matter. It's just I think sometimes we hyper focus on every little word. We want to get everything right. And honestly, the more podcasting I've done, I'm like, gosh, I say so many things that people will quote me on in other projects and say something, as you said this one time or whatever. But like, you look at the body of work that people, and I think we need to do this more in the day and age that we live in, is look at what people are trying to, the positivity or the spirit that they're trying to put out over the course of their life or in general, like, because that's really what matters. We're going to misspeak. We're going to say things whatever. But if as long as we're making that feeling is good, because sometimes too, I've been thrown off that like what I've said and what I've done, I don't feel like should invoke this feeling in somebody.
Yes.
Right? But when I hear about it, again, if you make it known that this is how you made me feel, really, because I didn't see that, I didn't get that, and you give a person to say that's not at all. I don't think that my actions, feelings, words should sort of create that type of feeling. But now that you brought it to my attention, I'll be more conscious of it going forward, and it's something that I can kind of think about. So it's sort of important to kind of share that and think about it, because.
Right.
I have kids who I'm just trying to be a solid teacher, right, and make sure that they have their homework done and do different things. But it's the way you go about it. It could be your tone. It could be a lot of different things. But yeah, overall, it's that feeling. Years later, when they leave Mr. Kirk, or when they worked with you for several years in a job, or your friends, how do you make them feel at the end of the day? Do you leave them in a more positive state, or are they more negative and drained? You know what I mean? Like, that's something to kind of think about in terms of even your relationships and who you want to kind of, your circle, your
what
circle
you want to
of
put
people.
out there. Yeah. And it's like, also, we can't forget, like, sometimes it's just, a lot of times it's just beyond our control. Like you said, sometimes you never would have thought this kind of action or comment would evoke that kind of feeling in someone. Yeah. And that's important that we communicate at that point. But like, sometimes despite all good efforts, we don't even have any power over the other person's interpretation, right? And what I like about Harry here is, like we said, they make him feel awful, but his reaction to it is golden, I think. Like, because he doesn't, like we said, he always says he hates it, but he doesn't
let it to skew kind of who he is as a person
back.
too.
Like, he's
Yeah. Like, well, there probably is still a
person.
lot of stuff that he doesn't say that's going on or whatever, but at the same time, we don't really see him embrace their words and actions and stuff and make that a part of who, like, his being. Right. Because we worry about his self-concept and his self-esteem and all that sort of stuff or whatever. And thankfully, he's able to kind of persevere through that or whatever, because it could have been a lot worse, and it could have been, far, far more detrimental. But yeah, it's like, it is sort of important to kind of reflect and think about our the feeling that we're kind of invoking in people. I mean, here's the thing. Earlier, I said the word, I was mentioning spiders, and I probably made somebody feel scared. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, didn't mean to. I was just trying to be kind of funny about it, but no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you guys get the point. It's just like, it's important to kind of think about, I guess, those things and put out good feels.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
I think that's it, right?
Today, right before the end, I want to actually read some. I will post.
Oh, let's go. What was that? Was that an owl?
It's supposed to be an owl, yeah. I mean, there are all kinds of owls, so yeah, that's our owl.
Okay.
And we got our first longer email from one of our first Patreons, Brian. Thank you so much, and it just makes our hearts happy that you enjoy the podcast. And you're kind of sharing your I would say even Potter story with us, and I just want to share bits and pieces on the podcast from Brian. Hey guys, I gathered from what you said in the latest episode that you two live in Ohio. I grew up in Ohio, though now I'm in Virginia. That's cool. That's so cool. Like, to hear that people are from Ohio too. And that's actually the point that kind of brought me, that's why we kind of got together, because I heard you from Ohio, and I spent like a whole high school year in Ohio, and that was
all the places you could have been, you
connection
came to Ohio.
already.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So that's awesome. And
he's from Xenia.
Xenia,
yeah, near Dayton.
He says it's famous for the world's largest tornado, April 3rd, 1974. And he saw it, and it was insane. They had 21 windows blown out their house, but it remained intact. Okay, on to Harry. You asked listeners to share about their engagement with Chapter 1. I actually love this memory. I've always loved to read, and I heard a little bit about Harry Potter, but never read the first book for whatever reason. A lot of people say that it's just because I feel like everyone reads it, and it's almost like you don't want to, I don't know, you don't want to jump on the wagon just to say, oh yeah, I've read it too.
Right, yeah.
I remember being in a bookstore and seeing a copy of the just released Chamber of Secrets. I read the flyleaf, which said something like, Harry Potter is back for his second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I remember thinking, oh right, there was some buzz about the Harry Potter book, and kept on looking for a good book to read. A friend from work gave me a paperback copy of Sorcerer's Stone, saying, it's really good and I think you would like it. It sat on my shelf unread for I can't recall how long. At some point, I picked it up and started reading. By the end of Chapter 1, I was a Potterhead, which is cool to think about, because Chapter 1, like we said, it's something we're not at Hogwarts yet.
Right, but it creates that magic,
yeah,
it really does.
Yes,
it's like,
and especially like Dumbledore, and he will talk about it. So he just didn't know it yet. But here's the real Chapter 1 engagement. I knew nothing about Harry Potter except that it involved wizards and whatnot. I started reading with a completely blank slate. I was intrigued with Vernon Dursley's experience at the beginning of Chapter 1. Something behind the scenes was clearly going on. But like Vernon, I was completely clueless about what it was. And there was this bizarre cat acting very in-cat-like.
Yeah.
Then the Dursleys went to bed. Next thing I knew, the strange old man materializes onto Privet Drive. He takes something out of his pocket and sucks up all the streetlights. He then encounters the cat, whom he calls by name. My mind is racing. Is he a good guy? Is he evil? I have no idea. Is the cat there to stop his evil plans?
Whoa.
Or is he there to stop the cat's evil plans?
Oh, boy.
I don't know, but now I must keep reading because I'm already in love with this story, and I have to know. Well, now I do know, and I love this incredibly complex and fascinating story more deeply than anything else I've ever read, including Narnia and Lord of the Rings, both of which I've read about 10 times and love above all except Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So that is how it started for me. each of us have a different story of how we found and fell in love with the boy who lived. The power of Harry's story, as I see it, is that in many ways, it is our story, a very human story that pulls on the best parts of us and also exposes the small and mean parts of us as we see our own weaknesses in the failures of many of the characters. But I think rolling through Harry shows us that even with our faults, we can choose love, goodness, and friendship over hate, anger, and compromise.
Yeah.
I think that in our, I think that in your podcast, which is our podcast, it's all of our podcasts, you two share that same message, being positive and seeking kindness, and the good is stronger than meanness and negativity. So in many ways, your podcast is very Harry-like, whether you see that or not. So well done, you two, and Buckeyes forever.
Let's go.
Brian.
Oh, that's awesome. That is really cool, Brian. I appreciate that. That's neat. I mean, that is really kind of that's a cool story, you know, and it's cool to the connection to Ohio and then the connection to the series. I mean, I also was somebody who I think I've mentioned this, like I wasn't necessarily allowed to read Harry Potter right away. There was this buzz. I wanted to kind of get to it. I wanted to read it, and you know, because I've read Lord of the Rings and I enjoyed it. I love The Hobbit. I love it. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I go back and people on my Potter or my Lord of the Rings podcast would be like, "What?" But I have read Harry Potter more, way more than I have read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
because there's an intricacy. There's I don't know. There's something so it doesn't feel super far and distant. Away, you know, like even Star Wars, it feels like it's a galaxy far, far away. You know what I mean? It's a long, long time ago. And then Lord of the Rings, it's Middle Earth. It's somewhere different. Like the brilliance of this is that it's mixed in with our world. It's happening.
You start in our
around
world,
us.
actually.
Yeah, like all around us, it's actually happening. And there's a very thin. I don't know. There's a good blend. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's that far fetched.
Yeah.
But yet it's super magical.
Right.
You're like, whoa.
And I think also the language is more accessible, but yet still like very descriptive. And I love like descriptions like, you know, Petunia's face, almost like she bit into a lemon or something. Like, I love that kind of stuff, but it's still not like.
Well, there's a whole school of characters, right? There's a whole staff and professors, and there's people that work in the towns, and Tom at the Leaky Cauldron, the Ministry of Magic. I mean, it is way more than I think people realize in terms of like a cast of characters, right? And it's what's so beautiful about it, I guess. It's just there's so many people to connect to kind of like and it had different houses. I mean, we're all kind of.
I know,
like,
that's so cool.
People
love it.
There's just a genius to it, and I think it's so cool. It's why we want more of it. We want to play the game. We want to reread the books. We want to watch the movies. This morning we woke up before recording and we started playing the soundtrack as we ate breakfast and went and did some errands and stuff. Awesome. It's a part of our life, and like honest to wizard God, I love sort of like seeing people's stories. We want to follow you guys back on social media. Just like you're going about your normal day, right? You're picking up your coffee on the way to work or doing whatever, and there is still, it's a nice way to kind of just like go through your normal muggle life, which you kind of have to get into, and then really think about something that is magical and kind of have a magical moment in your normal day. Share that. We like that. And we do that all the time. We try to find magical moments, and it just feels like we're a part of this world, and it's great. So
and thank you so much for writing in, Brian. Like, your story is so cool that you describe in detail how you felt, how the book first time you read it make you. You know, sometimes it's like. There's different stories. Some people are like, a lot of people actually say, I've never picked it up until a certain point in my life, and then they're like hooked. And some people don't read it until they're 50 years old, and then they're hooked. And their grandkids, they told them to read it because it's so awesome. I love that.
I love that too.
Whenever the point in your life comes and you're like, now I'm ready for the story.
Did we follow somebody on TikTok or a short or somewhere where like they were handing their grandmother more of the like my grandma wants book 3 or book 4. I feel like I followed someone. I saw something where this grandmother was like, "Oh boy," you know, like they were like asking their granddaughter, "Can you get me the next book?"
That's so cool.
And then they didn't get it to. They were on like book 4. Like, "Don't worry, sweetie, we got them at the store." Like they're on to book 5, and it's just like, it's such a cool thing because it's it's an intoxicating read. It's just a really
It is. Yeah.
it's just a really fun experience.
So also thank you, Brian, for just your appreciative tone and that you feel like we're trying to get out or put out this positive vibe and try to build a community. So
yeah.
thanks so much, Dankeschön,
Yeah.
for your owl.
Yes. Oh boy. All right, cool. And again, friends, if you want to, as Lottie said at the top show, if you have a thought on the upcoming chapter, 4 or 5, if there's something that you're like, I've never heard another podcast or book group or YouTube or whatever talk about this thing, and you want it shared, you want it featured, we'll plug your social media, we'll share your thoughts. Just make sure you note that, hey, I'd love for you guys to share this on the podcast, and we'll do our very best to kind of get it out there and read it first, and then share it, because we do enjoy that. We enjoy kind of connecting with you guys, and we want you to be able to kind of, as Lottie said, it's our podcast, meaning yours as well, and everyone. So it's a safe place for everybody, and it's just a lot of fun. All right, sweetie, I think that's it, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're going to jump into our extendable ear edition. We're going to talk about Mrs. Fig, continue the conversation, and then
I'm excited.
As we said, we're going to be dropping these on Friday for the first couple here, but then we're going to do kind of a short week, 1 week, where we kind of switch it to Wednesdays because we like that idea. It gives us time to kind of edit and record and all that kind of stuff, so like sort of a midweek drop for people, but... yeah. All right, friends. Well, hey, with that, thanks for tuning in to Shell Cottage Radio 94.7 COZY. We hope you'll join us in the future. We do thoroughly enjoy meeting new positive Potter people that don't behave like babbling, bumbling bands of baboons.
Baboons!
If you don't want to miss the next episode, then be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review, and follow on social media at fleurandbill.
Next time, we're going to talk about Chapter 3 of Harry Potter in the Philosopher's Stone, The Letters from No One. So don't miss out on next week's episode. Thanks again for joining Blur's Book Club in their Shell Cottage today. We know it's not much, but it's home.